Welcome to Incredible Idaho. I'm Margot Hemingway, and like many wildlife species, my dad, Jack Hemingway, has migrated south to warmer climates for the month of January. He's asked me to step in and guest host this Incredible Idaho, a great opportunity for me to share the wildlife and the wonders of this beautiful state. Our first story tonight takes us north near the Canadian border to Lake Pend Oreille. It's the largest and deepest lake in the state, stretching over 180 square miles and in places measuring well over 1,000 feet deep. The winter landscape has a harsh, austere beauty, almost as if nature, in a desperate bid to conserve warmth, has narrowed its colors to stark shades of black and white. The cold penetrates, slowing movements and muffling sounds. It creeps up the mountainside, lingering among the trees and obscuring the peaks in an icy fog. The struggle for survival takes on an eerie quiet that has its own peculiar intensity. To waste energy in this frigid land is to court death. The strong will endure. The rest are destined to surrender to the unforgiving law of nature, survival of the fittest. But this seemingly hostile environment somehow supports life. A pair of mergansers burst suddenly into movement, orchestrating a flyby in perfect formation. Perched midstream in the icy creek, a strange little bird called a dipper performs a bizarre, bouncing dance. Near the mouth of the stream, gulls gather, their dull plumage blending perfectly into this world shaded in gray, and high in the trees, bald eagles survey the shoreline, searching for kokanee salmon.
The kokanee is the basic forage fish in this lake. Everything is dependent on the kokanee. The eagles are here because the kokanee are here, and it seems the more kokanee we have, the more eagles have shown up.
Sometime near the end of October, the kokanee salmon begin their spawning run. During the next 2 months, thousands journey to the mouth of Granite Creek, seeking out the fast-moving waters upstream to lay their eggs. Mysteriously, the eagles know that prey will be plentiful, and within a few days they quietly appear to settle in the pines above the creek and begin their silent vigil.
We've seen as many as up to 250 eagles here at one time. Right this year, we've only seen about 3 dozen to about 50, something like that.
Fisheries biologist Bruce Thompson has kept tabs on the bald eagles here for 10 years. 3 mornings a week during the kokanee run, he brings a crew of biologists and volunteers across the chilly waters of Lake Pend Oreille to Granite Creek. They come to collect eggs from the kokanee salmon for Fish and Game's hatchery program.
What they do is swim upstream this time of year to try to find a place to spawn, and this fish trap blocks the entire creek. They're trying so hard to find their way upstream, they'll swim across this weir back and forth until they find the openings we've left for them. And they continue on into the trap.
When the kokanee are ready to spawn, their colors begin changing from a silvery fish to bright red. They are cousins to the sockeye salmon, and at one time made the same long journey to the ocean and back. Then glaciers moved in, cutting off their route to the sea. But the kokanee salmon learned to adapt to fresh water, and over the centuries lost the urge to migrate. Biologists call this residualization. Now they are a vital link in the food chain of the big northern lakes.
Put that lead line down and just slide along it with your foot.
The trap fish are collected using a seine net, which can sometimes be a tricky business.
Hang on, I'm on the lead line. Okay, bring it up.
From the seine net, they're transferred to a holding tank. A concentration of tranquilizer has been mixed into the water to calm the fish. This protects the fish from internal damage and also makes them a bit easier for biologists to handle.
This is a green female. You put some gentle pressure on the front end of the eggs there. You can see that there's no eggs coming out. So we go ahead and keep them in what we call a green pen, and we just leave them in there until we're done, and then we'll release them back into the creek. In a couple days they should be mature, and we can take the eggs from them then.
Those females that are ripe are gently squeezed and bright red eggs drop into a bowl. Sperm from a male is added to fertilize the eggs. Most of these adults began life the same way. The fertilized eggs are transferred from here to Cabinet Gorge Fish Hatchery to be raised to a 2-inch fish. The tiny kokanee are then brought back and planted into the waters of Granite Creek. Eventually, they find their way downstreams to Lake Pend Oreille. 2 to 4 years later, the adult fish returns once more to the waters of their youth. They spawn and die, leaving a legacy of eggs to carry on the species, and the cycle begins again.
Well, this is a spawned out female kokanee. She dropped her eggs before she got to the trap. Her belly's all thin and flabby. And she's also been grabbed possibly by one of the bald eagles that are sitting downstream. We'll release her back into the creek where the other fish respawn. And she'll probably end up in front of an eagle again before the day's out, and that's how the life cycle ends around here.
It's not just the wintering bald eagles that rely on kokanee for food. They are a critical part of the food chain in Lake Pend Oreille.
The bull trout and the Girard kamloops, the big Girard trophy kamloop here in the lake, are really dependent on the kokanee population. And that's why we're very concerned about making sure we have good reproduction at the hatchery, good survival at the hatchery, so we can have a good population of kokanee here in the lake.
For the communities on the lake, a healthy kokanee population also translates into a strong economy. Sport fishing and tourism is a big business here in the summer. But in the winter, it can be a quiet place, a place where nature rules. One of the strong sweeps down to capture the weak, gliding out gracefully over the gray water with its kill. It is war, a struggle to survive, and the story of the battle is written in the snow. The hushed stillness returns and nature pushes on. Down below, the Kokanee salmon continue their struggle upstream to spawn. And high above in the pines, bald eagles keep a silent watch.